My husband told a judge I was one psychotic episode away from hurting our daughter. He even brought a printed letter from my psychiatrist to prove it. The problem for him was simple. My psychiatrist was sitting right behind me in that courtroom, and he had never written that letter in his life. Before I dive in, if you like long Reddit-style stories about toxic relationships, gaslighting, mental health, custody battles, and legal revenge, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. It really helps more people find these full stories. I'm 33, my soon-to-be ex-husband is 35. We've been together for 9 years, married for 6, and we have one daughter together, Lily, she's 5. I have anxiety and a history of depression. Not the quirky, I worry a lot type, the real, diagnosed, medicated kind. I'm functional, I work, I parent, but I also have panic attacks, bad days, and yes, I see a therapist and a psychiatrist regularly. From the outside, we looked like a normal little family. Mortgage, preschool drop-offs, weekend Target runs. On the inside, my husband, Ethan, had slowly slid into a pattern I didn't want to name, control disguised as concern. Before Lily was born, Ethan liked that I was soft. He'd say things like, "You're so empathetic, you feel everything deeply. That's why you're such a good partner." After Lily was born and my anxiety got worse, it changed to, "You're too sensitive. You overreact to everything. The world is going to eat you alive if I'm not careful." Small example, when Lily was a baby and I'd double-check if the stove was off, he'd tease me. "Did you ask your anxiety if the burners are plotting against us?" Then he started repeating that in front of friends. It was funny at first. It stopped being funny when he used my mental health to shut down any disagreement. "I don't want your mom popping in unannounced every day," I'd say. He'd smile sadly and reply, "Is this you talking or your anxiety again?" If I got upset about something real, like him forgetting to pick Lily up on time or blowing money we didn't have, he'd say, "You're spiraling. You need to take your meds." I actually started to wonder if he was right. Maybe I was too much. Maybe I did see problems where there weren't any. 2 years ago, my therapist suggested I see a psychiatrist as well as her. My anxiety had gone from annoying to, "I feel like my chest is on fire and I can't breathe." I'd wake up at 3 a.m. with my heart pounding, convinced something awful was about to happen. I made an appointment with Dr. Patel, a calm, straightforward man in his 50s who explained things in a way I could understand. We tried meds, adjusted dosages, added coping strategies. It helped. Not perfect, but better. Ethan loved having official proof that I was mentally ill. He'd wave my pill bottle jokingly and say, "Don't forget your crazy juice," in private. But in public, he'd talk about what a supportive husband he was for standing by me through my issues. I brushed it off because, well, I do have issues. I told myself he was just coping badly with something that was hard for both of us. Things escalated when we started talking about separating. It wasn't one big betrayal. It was 100 little cuts. Ethan refused couples therapy. He refused to seriously talk about our problems. If I said, "I feel alone," he'd respond, "You feel a lot of things that aren't real, babe." The catalyst was stupidly small. He spent $700 on a new gaming console and games when we were already behind on bills. I confronted him, not shouting, just exhausted. "Ethan, we're late on the mortgage and you're buying toys. I feel like I'm parenting 2 people." He rolled his eyes. "There she goes, anxiety girl to the rescue. I work hard, I deserve something for myself." "I work too," I replied. "And I'm the one juggling the budget, daycare, my job, my mental health, your mother's surprise visits, and all the housework. I'm drowning." Instead of hearing me, he smirked. "Maybe you're not cut out for this," he said. "Marriage, parenting, adult life, not everyone is. Some people just crack. That word stuck to my ribs, crack. We had variations of that fight for months. Finally, I said the thing I'd been terrified to say. I think we should separate. Silence. Then you're not serious. I am, I said, voice shaking. I can't keep doing this. I feel more alone with you than I do when you're not here. His face went cold in a way I'd never seen. Fine, he said. You want to blow up our family because your brain chemistry is off. Don't be surprised if a judge agrees you're not stable enough for Lily to live with you. My stomach dropped. I'm not a bad mother, I whispered. He shrugged. You're anxious. You panic. You catastrophize. You've said yourself you feel like the world is ending over small things. Do you think that sounds safe for a 5-year-old? That night I lay in bed next to him, staring at the ceiling, thinking of every time I'd cried in the bathroom, every panic attack he'd seen, every vulnerable thing I'd admitted in therapy that he might have overheard. The next week, I found out just how far he was willing to go. It started with my mother calling me, voice strained. Sweetheart, she said, Ethan came by. He's worried about you. I frowned, worried how? He said he's concerned you're having some kind of breakdown. He showed us something. She hesitated. A letter from your psychiatrist. I felt physically ill. What letter? I asked. Something about you being prone to psychotic features under stress and struggling with reality testing, and potential risk to child if unsupported, my mom said slowly. Honey, is this true? Why didn't you tell us? I could barely see straight. Can you send me a photo of that letter? I asked. She did. It was on what looked like Dr. Patel's letterhead. His clinic name, address, phone number, my full name, a date, at the top, psychiatric evaluation summary. I read it 3 times, hands shaking. Some of it sounded like real phrases a psychiatrist might use. Generalized anxiety disorder, recurrent depressive episodes. Then came lines that felt like knives. The patient shows poor insight into her condition. She may misinterpret neutral situations as threats. She could present a safety risk to a minor child during periods of decompensation. At the bottom was a scribbled signature, Dr. R. Patel, M.D. Except it didn't look like his signature on my prescriptions. Similar shape, but wrong, like someone had practiced and gotten close. I sat at my kitchen table and felt something inside me go very, very still. Mom, I said, do not show that to anyone else. I'm calling my doctor. Dr. Patel fit me in the next day. He took the printed letter from my hands, read it carefully, then looked up at me with a mixture of anger and concern. I did not write this, he said flatly. My throat closed. You're sure? He gave me a look. I keep very thorough records, he said. When I write any kind of formal report, it goes into your chart. We can check right now. He turned to his computer, logged in, pulled up my file. No such report. This letter uses some of my phrasing, he said, but it's wrong. It exaggerates symptoms, adds diagnoses you do not have, and speculates about dangerousness that I have never observed or documented. He tapped the paper. This is a forgery. I felt like I was underwater. Can you say that in writing? I asked, voice shaking. Because I think my husband is going to use this in court. His expression hardened. Yes, he said, I can and I will. He printed out a statement on the clinic letterhead, confirming I was his patient, summarizing my actual diagnoses and treatment, stating explicitly that he had never written the letter my mother had shown me, and that the statements in it about me being a danger to my child were not his professional opinion. He signed it, much more cleanly than the scribble on Ethan's fake letter. Then he did something I didn't expect. He looked me in the eye and said, "Do you feel safe at home?" I started crying. "I'm not afraid he'll hit me," I said. "I'm afraid he'll take my daughter." Dr. Patel nodded slowly. "You may want to consider speaking with an attorney," he said. "Bring both letters. Bring any evidence you have of him using your mental health against you. Judges do not look kindly on people who weaponize psychiatric care." That was the moment things shifted in my mind. Before, I'd been playing defense, trying to prove I wasn't that bad, that I deserved to be a mom despite my anxiety. Now, I realized I was dealing with someone who would lie to a judge to get what he wanted. Someone who would forge a doctor's letter to paint me as unfit. Someone who had crossed a line you can't uncross. I found a family law attorney, Melissa, who came highly recommended by a coworker. I walked into her office with a folder, the fake letter, Dr. Patel's statement, printouts of texts, and half a notebook of things I'd written down over the past year. At first, my notes had been for therapy. I wrote down things Ethan said when I felt crazy after arguments, so I could unpack them later. "You're overreacting. You're not remembering that right. Your anxiety is making you hallucinate problems." Later, my notes turned more like logs, dates, times, exact phrases. He told me today, "If a judge ever sees the way you cry in front of Lily, they'll call it abuse." Melissa read silently for a long time. Finally, she said, "Okay, here's how this looks to me. Your husband is building a narrative that you're unstable. He's already gone to your parents with a fake letter. He will absolutely try to use that in divorce and custody." I swallowed hard. Can he get full custody because I have anxiety and depression? She shook her head. "Having a mental health diagnosis does not mean you lose your child," she said. "What judges care about is, are you following treatment? Are you stable day to day? Is the child safe with you?" She tapped the fake letter. "What judges hate," she continued, "is people who lie, forge documents, and manipulate mental health professionals to score points in court. That can blow up in his face, if we play this right." We filed for legal separation and temporary custody before Ethan did. I moved into the guest room and stopped pretending we were still working on it. We told Lily Mommy and Daddy were living in different rooms for now, but both loved her very much. I tried to keep things as calm as possible for her. Ethan's reaction at being served was ugly. He waved the papers. "What is this?" he demanded. "Legal separation," I said quietly. "I've already spoken with an attorney." His face twisted. "You think you're going to win this?" he snarled. "You're anxious, depressed, on meds, barely hanging on. I have a letter from your own doctor saying you're unstable." I felt strangely calm. "Do you?" I asked. He smirked. "Don't play stupid," he said. "You know you're one meltdown away from losing it. I'm just making sure Lily is safe." I didn't argue. I just went back to my room and wrote down every word he'd said. Over the next few weeks, things got tense. He'd alternate between smug and concerned. Smug Ethan: "My lawyer says judges don't like crazy wives. I'm going to push for primary custody." Concerned Ethan: "I know you think you're fine, but people with your issues often don't realize they're dangerous. Maybe Lily should stay with me more while you work on yourself." He kept trying to bait me into screaming, crying, throwing something. Anything he could later describe as proof of my instability. I went gray rock, short, bland responses, no screaming, no slamming doors. I also did one more thing. I bought a small, cheap audio recorder. In my country, recording conversations in your own home that you are part of is legal. Melissa confirmed the specifics for our state. I double-checked the law anyway, 3 times. The next time Ethan started poking at my mental health, I had my phone recording in my pocket. Do you really think a judge will give a kid to someone who can barely function without pills? He asked one night, standing in the hall outside Lily's room. You can't even drive on the freeway without panicking. I drive Lily to school every day, I said. There's no freeway. He snorted. Details, he said. Look, it's not personal. I know how these things look. I'm just playing the long game. The long game, I repeated. He smirked. Collecting evidence, he said. Documenting your episodes. When you cry, when you snap, when you forget things. Your doctor's letter is just the start. By the time we're in court, everyone will see you're not stable. It's not my fault if reality hurts your feelings. I felt sick, but I kept my face neutral. Okay, I said, noted. Later that night, after he fell asleep on the couch with the TV on, I slid my phone out and emailed the audio file to myself, Melissa, and to a cloud folder I'd created labeled legal. A week later, we were in court for the first temporary custody hearing. Ethan came armed like he was about to give a PowerPoint presentation on why my wife is crazy. He had a binder, tabs, printed pictures of me looking tired or crying, screenshot texts of me saying things like I'm overwhelmed and I had a panic attack today. He'd highlighted every negative-sounding sentence. He also had the fake letter. He walked in with his attorney, all confidence. I walked in with Melissa and a folder of my own. Behind us sat Dr. Patel, who had taken time off to appear as a witness, and my therapist, who had provided a written statement. The judge was an older woman with a tired face that said she'd seen every ugly thing people could do to each other. Ethan's lawyer went first. He painted a picture of a fragile woman prone to outbursts, episodes, and distorted thinking. He kept using words like unstable and unsafe. Ethan nodded solemnly at all the right moments, putting on his best, concerned father face. Then he pulled out the letter. Your Honor, his lawyer said, this is a letter from Mrs. X's treating psychiatrist, Dr. Patel, outlining his serious concerns regarding her mental state and her ability to safely parent a minor child. He handed it to the judge. My heart hammered, but I forced myself to breathe. The judge skimmed it, eyebrows raising slightly. Melissa stood. Your Honor, we will absolutely address that letter, she said coolly. But first, I'd like to call Dr. Patel to the stand. Ethan's head snapped toward us so fast I heard his neck crack. Wait, what? He blurted. The judge frowned. You will remain quiet unless spoken to, Mr. X. Dr. Patel walked calmly to the stand, was sworn in and sat down. Melissa approached. Doctor, can you state your name and occupation for the record? She asked. He did. Are you the treating psychiatrist of Mrs. X? She asked. Yes, he said. I have been seeing her for approximately 2 years. Are you familiar with this document? Melissa held up the fake letter. He glanced at it, then back at the judge. I am not the author of that document, he said. It appears to use my letterhead and my name, but I did not write it, and its contents do not reflect my professional opinion. The judge's eyebrows shot up. Excuse me, she said. Dr. Patel continued, unruffled. I have already provided the court with a letter I did write, he said. In that letter, I explained that Mrs. X has generalized anxiety disorder and recurrent depressive episodes, both of which are currently being treated and managed. I state that she has good insight into her condition, is compliant with treatment, and, in my observation, is a loving and conscientious mother. At no point have I described her as a danger to her child. Melissa handed the judge the real letter. The judge compared the two, her face hardening. So this, she held up Ethan's letter between 2 fingers, is a forgery. I cannot speak to who created it, Dr. Patel said carefully. but I can state with absolute certainty that I did not. It also contains phrases and diagnoses I have never used in her case." Melissa shot Ethan a look that could cut steel. "Thank you, doctor," she said. "No further questions." Ethan's lawyer tried to salvage it, mumbling something about miscommunication and maybe an early draft. Dr. Patel shut that down politely but firmly. "He never wrote drafts like that. He keeps digital records. There was no such document." From that moment, the entire vibe in the courtroom shifted. Melissa then presented my logs, notes, and most importantly, the audio recording. She played the clip where Ethan proudly said, "I'm just playing the long game, collecting evidence. Your doctor's letter is just the start. By the time we're in court, everyone will see you're not stable." In the recording, my voice was calm, his was smug. "This," Melissa said, "is not the voice of a terrified husband seeking help for a dangerous spouse. This is someone building a false narrative, using her diagnosis as a weapon, and now presenting forged evidence to this court." The judge's face was like stone. When it was Ethan's turn to speak, he floundered. I was just scared," he stammered. She has panic attacks, she forgets things, she cries in front of our daughter." "Mr. X," the judge interrupted, "are you aware that presenting forged medical documents to a court is a serious offense?" He went pale. I thought it was real," he said quickly. "My wife showed it to me. That is not consistent with what we've heard today," the judge said sharply. "And the recording suggests you knew exactly what you were doing." She paused, looking between us. "Here is what I see," she said finally. "We have a mother who has sought treatment, follows medical advice, and, according to two professionals, is a competent, caring parent. We have a father who has repeatedly minimized her treatment, attempted to portray her as unstable, and brought a falsified document into my courtroom to try to gain advantage in a custody proceeding." She looked directly at Ethan. "That does not speak well of your judgment, Mr. X." My legs felt weak with relief. I gripped the edge of the table. In the end, the judge ordered temporary joint legal custody but primary physical custody to me. Ethan would have scheduled visitation. The judge also ordered that neither of us disparage the other's mental health to the child or extended family, and she made a point of repeating that my diagnosis, on its own, was not a reason to deny me custody. She added one more thing. The forged letter would be referred to the appropriate authorities for investigation. I don't know yet if Ethan will face criminal charges for that, but I know he's terrified. As we walked out of the courtroom, Ethan hissed at me under his breath. "You did this," he said. "You turned everyone against me." I stopped and looked at him, really looked at him. "No," I said quietly. "You did, you just finally got caught." That was 3 months ago. Since then, the temporary custody arrangement has been working. Lily lives with me most of the time in a small apartment. She has her room, her stuffed animals, her little routine. Ethan sees her on a schedule. I keep communication businesslike and documented. No more late-night arguments. No more letting him poke at my triggers for fun. I'm still in therapy. I still have anxiety. I still take meds. But for the first time in years, I don't feel like my mental health is a loaded gun someone else is holding to my head. My relationship with my parents is complicated. They were furious with Ethan when they found out the letter was fake, but they also feel guilty for believing it so quickly. My mom cried and said, "I'm so sorry, honey, I should have trusted you." I told her, "I get why you were scared. That's what he counted on." If there's one thing I've learned from all of this, it's this. Having a mental illness does not make you weak, dangerous, or unfit to love and raise your child. But someone who will forge documents, lie to doctors, and weaponize your diagnosis for leverage. That person is not safe. Not for you, not for your kid, and not for any judge who has to deal with them. So, am I the villain for walking into court with my real doctor and letting my husband's lies burn down around him? If you were in my place, would you have done the same? Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video, tell us whose side you're on in the comments, and subscribe to Reddit Story Vault for more full Reddit-style stories about relationships, custody battles, and legal revenge every day.